Today I'm going to introduce you the concept of charging, mixing one color into another while it's wet. So it's a wet in wet technique. Let's go. This book by Julie Collins, Painting Flowers with Impact in Watercolor, gave me a eureka moment. If you look at some of the example in her photo, in her painting, they are full of colors, in colors, charged amazingly, right? They are multicolors in one shape, and I was wondering, how did she do that? Examples after examples where she just demonstrated the multicolor in one shape. Later I discovered that this technique is called charging, and I'm going to show it to you today. Okay, I'm going to draw a simple tulip. For example, I'm not going to create a very careful sketch or painting. I'm just going to show you the technique and you can play with it. I've already shown you one of the variant, which is lay down the color and then charge it with water to push the color to the edge. It's somewhat the same, but it's really using another color. And of course, the amount of pigment matters as well, and you can vary that. All I want to say is that when I was reading the book Painting Flowers with Impact, I had my eureka moment, and well, I'm not sure you get the same eureka, but I was at a stage where I was learning lots about watercolor technique, and when I saw that all this painting that she had in the book, I had that eureka moment. So it was, I guess it's me. Alright, so let's use an example where I'm going to lay down a very sort of medium pigment washed permanent alizarin crimson. I'm going to lay that down into one of the shape. Okay, I'm not going to be very careful, but I just want to show you the technique, so I'm just going to lay it down. And you can see that there's a fair amount of water. Oops, it kind of run to the next part because there was some water there. But anyway, I'm going to use some lemon yellow and mix with some new gamboge, and I'm going to drop that in wet on wet. I'm not going to drop it to the whole place, but I'm going to drop it on one edge or one side of the shape. So do remember that it is important to understand how much water you're using, how much pigment you're using. They will create different effects for you, different pigments as well, because they are chemicals basically, and the chemicals may react or create some kind of a texture that you may or may not like for that particular purpose. So all these are learning experience. The more you mix, the more you play around with it, the more you will get exposed to the different effects. And you may or may not like what you see, but at least it gets to the little arsenal of knowledge that you have, and you may be able to use it in some other ways in the future. So as you can see, some of them are very wet into very wet, and it does create different sort of effects, if you like, because the pigment may rush out or they may just stay put, depending on the pigments you use, the colors and so on. But essentially what you're doing is just playing. You are just loading up colors and basically let them mix on the paper and not on the palette. Talking about play, I want to shout out to Beth Planky, a very, very strong supporter from the US. Shout out to you. Remember to play always. It's very important. And I think, it's the same advice to all of you as well. Play. Learn to, appreciate the pigment that you have. Don't look at the pigment that I have, because you may have different pigments. But play it, mix it, put it onto a shape and then load some more. Load 3, 4, 5 different colors to see what's the effect. Use analogous colors, in other words, colors that are adjacent to each other on the color wheel. So yellow and orange next to each other, red and purple, and so on and so forth. If you get too far, they become a little bit neutral or grayish, if you like. That may not serve the purpose that you want. So as you can see, for the different shapes, I'm just loading using red as a base. Anything from yellow, orange, purple, you name it, right? But one of the things you will notice that I try to keep the shapes separate. In fact, I am a little bit patient. I let some of the shape dry and not touch them or mix them while it's still wet. Although that may be something you want to do, but for the purpose of this example and this demo, I deliberately avoid touching them. although as you can see I didn't do a very good job. There are some parts that they do mixed up. Same thing with the stem, base green, yellow, and later on I'm going to try to load different sort of colors onto it, and we'll see what happens. Alright, there's one thing that you can do as well, which is charging a very light wash, which is no difference from charging with clear water. In fact, the push technique in the previous video is somewhat of a charging technique, but the difference is that you're charging it with water, or very light, thin pigment, if you like. Well, in that sense, what you're doing is mixing different colors and into a wet on wet, mixing it on a paper and not on the palette, basically, right? Okay, I'm going to speed up the rest of the shapes. They're essentially the same technique. Load the color, mix, drop in more colors, 2-3 different colors, as you like, and basically it's a charging mechanism at play, allowing pigment to mix freely, wet on wet. As you can see, sometimes you can go very far with dropping very bright color on very dark, or in fact you can, usually you could also do the reverse, which is drop very dark colors on very light wash, or you can just charge light washes as well. Those are all possible combinations. Okay, let me do one more final explanation with a simple shape. A square, that's a boring shape, of course, but square is boring. And I'm just going to load up my red, and then I'm going to load up the other colors. On one edge I'm going to load yellow, and the other edge I'm going to load a dark purple mixed. You should just learn to play with it like that and see what's the outcome of the shape, right? You will learn something when you play with your colors, so to speak. Okay, so when the colors are almost dry, I have one more trick up my sleeve. I use a very small brush like this one, and it's and what I'm going to do is wet it, and I'm going to just sort of erase the border. If you can see all the white borders between the shapes, I'm just going to go in and kind of just tickle it, give it a bit of wetness to mix up the shape, so to speak, so that the white are not so ghastly, right? Why do I do this? Well, because I don't really want to have the shapes looks like they are stickers, individual stickers on the page. That's not the intent. What I want to do is to soften up the edges, make them look like they are blended, and basically looks like they are part of a bigger shape. Kind of fake it if you like. But the reality is that the whites are very ghastly because I've left a very big gash of white between the shapes. You can do this in many ways. You can use a stiff brush, you can use a bristle, those oil painting brush, cut it into half of the length of it, use a small one, and then you can use it to tickle the edges and softening the shape. It's not just to do this, but also to soften edges typically that you can do. So, well, I think that's about all I want to show you in terms of the tricks of charging. And it's a little thing, a nifty thing. It soften up and it loosen up the watercolor tremendously, as opposed to have a simple flat wash for every shape out there. So there you have it. I hope you enjoyed this video, and stay safe wherever you are. Bye for now, till the next one. Stay safe.